Have you watched one of my other videos or seen me on Instagram saying the phrase, "you don't have to eat it," and then thought, well, then what? I've had an awful lot of questions lately about this. So I say this to my child and then they just don't eat it. And so what do I do when I say that? So why should I give them permission to not eat it? Well, I'm going to answer those two parts to the question. So the first part is, why should I give them permission to not eat it? Because they're a human and they are the ones that decides ultimately what goes in their bodies. Just like if you're presented with a meal of, for example, snails or grasshoppers along with some tacos, if you don't want to eat the grasshoppers, you know as an adult that you have permission to not eat the grasshoppers. Our child doesn't necessarily know that. Perhaps they've been pressured in the past to eat, and which is very natural for parents because they want the child to eat the foods on their plate. But ultimately, the child has the right to say no, and we have to teach them the power of their no. That when they say no, they don't want to eat the grasshoppers, just like if you don't want to eat the grasshoppers, you don't have to, and there's no expectation that you do. So you do have to give them that permission, because you can't force them to eat it, and when you do try to force it on them, they're not going to want it even more than before. Just like if I sat next to you while you had a plate of grasshoppers in front of you and telling you, eat them, they're really delicious, you're going to like them. Haven't you put your grasshoppers on yet? Come on. You wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it, like if we're being really honest with each other here. The next part of this question was, what happens after I say they don't have to eat it and then they just don't eat it? A lot of parents have interpreted this to mean, oh, that means I make them a separate meal or a separate snack. No, that is absolutely not what it means. You are not making something additional. First of all, take a step back. Look at the plate that you're making. You want to make sure there's a reliable food, safe food. I hate calling it a safe food because that makes children think there's something unsafe about the other food. A reliable food, a food that they would normally eat if they're hungry. Put that on their plate as well, and then give them the other thing that they may not like, or that they dislike, or that they sometimes eat. That way there's something familiar on there and something unfamiliar on there. And when you do that, it takes the pressure down, because it's not like you're just giving them a plate of grasshoppers. Like imagine if you sat down to lunch of a plate of just grasshoppers with nothing else that you like. Whereas if I gave you a plate of, here are some grasshoppers, here's some tacos, here's some guacamole, here's some pico de gallo. We're on a real Mexican theme today. You'd feel more comfortable. Okay, I don't have to eat those. If I don't want to eat the grasshoppers, I have plenty of other things to eat on this plate too. Your child feels the same way. So what happens after they say no? No, if you were at my house having grasshoppers, which we don't actually have at our house at the moment, I wouldn't be making you a separate plate. I know that you have reliable things on your plate and you can choose to eat from that plate whatever you want. It's not about giving them something else. It's truly about telling them, you don't have to eat the grasshoppers if you don't want to. In fact, if you don't like the whole meal, you don't have to eat it. But you've done your bit by putting something reliable on their plate for them. And if they choose not to eat it, that truly is okay. No child is going to starve if they skip a meal or a snack. They truly might not be that hungry at that time. Give them the option to eat, and then be okay and be really confident in your answer of you don't have to eat it, and their answer if they say they don't want to eat it. I have a few other videos that you may find helpful in terms of sticking to a schedule really consistently, because if they skip a snack or a meal, that can trigger some feelings within the parent, because the child may come up and say, I'm hungry 5 minutes later. So check out that video. I will link it at the end about schedules so that you can be really confident sticking to one and setting those boundaries and being consistent. And the other thing, if you're really struggling at mealtimes, check out my Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course. I will put the link in the description. It helps parents navigate through these difficulties of picky eating and having a child that says they don't want to eat something or has gone on a food jag and they don't want to eat a certain food for a long time. So not only will it help give you some strategies to help your child, it'll also help you with your mindset and confidence. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know, drop me a comment of what you liked, and if you have other questions, I can answer them in a future video. Thank you so much for watching. This is Talia, the dietitian. Bye. There's a lot of nutrition information out there. I am a dietitian, and this is my specialty, and I'm here to help you.